Good afternoon on this wonderful pre-holiday day. I know a lot of us are traveling, and we sure offer thoughts and prayers for safe passage for those that are traveling that aren't here now, and those of you that are leaving right after this meeting. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa this fine afternoon, where a bunch of good people do great things here and across the world. First, let's give a round of applause to the wonderful music that was provided by the Salvation Army Ensemble. I had to go get my speaker from the ensemble. He was having so much fun. Oh, yeah. And they will be back next week to keep us in holiday cheer. We appreciate that. Let's take a moment and turn and wish each other happy Thanksgiving and welcome. You know what, I could do this part all day and go get another piece of pie and do it again. But we do have a great program, so let's go ahead and get started. For our invocation this morning, or this afternoon, we have Brian Talkington for Song and Pledge, the wonderful Bob Reed, and for visitor introductions, past President Karen Keith. For our invocation now, please welcome Brian.
Good morning or afternoon as it is now. Please bow your heads. May we each be thankful for our friends that surround us, the trials that strengthen us, the work of our hands, and the joy in our lives. God, be with those who are traveling over the Thanksgiving holiday to be with family and friends. May we celebrate and give thanks for all that you have provided and pray for those who are less fortunate than we are. I ask this in your name. Amen.
Well, when Corey asked me if I would lead the singing today, I said, sure. So then I checked with Tom, and I said, will you be there? And he said, yes, he will be. And he is. The only problem is they stole his piano. So please join me. We're going to sing God Bless America, followed by the pledge. So here we go. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home. And the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So welcome one and all to the Rotary Club of Tulsa, and happy Thanksgiving. I think we all have a lot to be thankful for. I know that I do, so I'm so happy to introduce our visitors today. Samantha Estes with the Salvation Army, and she is hosted by DJ Morrow Ingram. So Samantha, would you stand up and let your presence be known? Thank you, Samantha. And also the great, the mighty, the wonderful DJ Sun. Riley Ingram. Hi, this is Riley. Man, you've grown. Okay. And Amanda Viles with CAP Tulsa, and she is the daughter of Philip Viles, and she does amazing work. Thank you, Amanda. And James Shante and Anita Chantre, and they are friends of John Raines. So please stand up. Thank you for being here. And Mindy Strain, and she is the guest of Rhonda Renz, and she's with Spirit Bank. Mindy, thank you for being here. Let's give a big round of applause to all of our visitors.
Thank you very much, Karen. Let's take a look at our upcoming programs. On November the 30th, which is next week, we will have an Energy in Tulsa panel featuring Juan Pablo Tario, Steve Antry, David Darcy, and Tony Canetta. That should be very informative and a little bit insightful, and hopefully this story has changed since we booked this program. At the time we booked it, the energy was weakening even further, and I think it's hopefully we get some optimism out of this. On December the 7th, Lisa Bain, Treasure Hunting, Finding Joy in the Cause. This is a very inspirational story from a female overcomer. You won't want to miss it. And finally, the last meeting of this calendar year, December the 14th, will be G.T. Bynum, probably the first speaking engagement since his formal induction as mayor. I know that will be a great program as well, so please join us. It'll also have a holiday tinge to it. So bring your guests and bring your kids and bring your family. Let's honor our sponsors today. David Wolfers is from James Potts and Wolfers, and Bill Rickert with Rickert Properties. Let's give them a round of appreciation. So I want to take a minute and recognize the challenges we've had with getting our website in order. Many of you have made comments. I appreciate the spirit that you did it, which was a spirit of understanding. It's been a little bit of a hassle getting a guest here because the upcoming meetings have not been posted in directions and stuff, but we're all square now. We're partnered with DACDB on our website, which I think will be a wonderful relationship for years to come. The site is up, it's fast, it's beautiful, and it's if it's not 100%, it'd be a shock. So you can go there and see the sponsor role. So we have the sponsor recognition fixed, which is a big plus, along with the IBA and above the Beyond Awards and Camp Enterprise and all the future projects coming up. So go visit the site. If you would like to become a sponsor, we certainly would appreciate you sponsoring us here at Rotary, and you can see Ed Monette and Chris Jacoby if you're interested in that. Now if I could have DJ Morrow come forward to the podium, please, and she's going to introduce our newest member into the Rotary Club of Tulsa.
Thank you, President John. Today it is my pleasure to introduce to you the person who will also be our speaker, so I'm going to keep this short, Captain Ken Chapman. He is the Area Commander for the Salvation Army Tulsa Metro Command. Captain Chapman, if you'd join me. He is a new member to us, but he is not new to Rotary, so he gets to bypass the red badge. So we're going to give you your blue badge that you can wear. Also going to present you with a Rotary pin that you can wear proudly, I'm sure. And also a new copy of the four-way test, and these have come a long way since I joined. Man, these are nice. So but I'd like to welcome him. Please get a chance to meet him, and he will be active in your committees and things, so get a hold of him fast because he keeps busy. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, DJ. We appreciate you introducing the newest member. And Ken, we're looking forward to some wonderful things and wonderful relationships with the Salvation Army. I want to thank John DeBar again for doing an excellent job of conducting our new member to Tulsa Club orientation, because Ken certainly did not need to be oriented into Rotary, but he did need to learn about our club, and thank you for doing that. So now is normally a time for Sarge, but Sarge is traveling. So we're thankful that she's hopefully safely traveling, and I'm thankful that she's not here. But don't tell her I said that. You may not realize this, but I'm a huge college fan, football, and we had something very unique happen last weekend. For the first time in decades, all 5 area schools won their games. That would be OU, OSU, TU, Arkansas, and Kansas. So congrats to them all, but especially to the Jayhawks for taking down the wonderful Longhorns. What a way to break a losing streak in the Big 12 than to get a coach dismissed. So I regret that. I like Charlie Strong. I like the fact that he's keeping the team very average, so I'm not necessarily very optimistic about his replacement. I think they'll probably charge back in good shape. Now it's my privilege, honor, and duty to auction off our OU OSU tickets. So if we could have the slide up, please. This game is December the 3rd. I don't think the time has been announced. It'll probably be an evening, 11:30. That's great. So we don't have to freeze to death at 7 o'clock. This will be a game, as you well know, for the conference championship. It's a big game for both schools. Based on the way they're both playing, I don't know who's going to win or lose. It's going to be a battle to the end, I can guarantee you that. It'll be a great environment. So we have an open bid for $200 for a pair of tickets for the OU OSU game. So here we go. Anybody have $225? I've got 200 looking for $225. Were you fixing your hair? Or I've got 200 looking for $225. I got $225 in the back. I'm looking for $250. I got $250 looking for $275. Got $250 looking for $275. $250 there. Got $275. Got $275 looking for $3. $275 looking for $3. $275 looking for $3. I've got $3. Looking for $3.25. Got $3 looking for $3.25. I got $3.25 in the back. $3.25 looking for $3.50. Got $3.25 looking for $3.50. $3.25 looking for $3.50. Did you bid? I've got $3.25 going once. She's asking permission going twice. Sold for $3.25. John in the back. Thank you, John. John, I think you can make a quick $25 with Karen after the meeting. We have one committee meeting today. It's our Partners in Education, a wonderful committee. I know they need your help. They're doing great things with their Adopt a School. City Clinton, they're meeting in room 232. Mosey on up there. You'll have a good time, and you'll also get the opportunity to change lives of young children in Tulsa. We have a few announcements today. If you're not able to be present for the election on December the 7th, we're electing our at-large representative to the board from 3 candidates. You can do an absentee ballot. I promise we will do this correctly, and it will be voted and counted. So if you are not going to make that meeting, you can pick up a ballot after the meeting today from Rochelle or Donna and place your vote. The dates for our annual trip to Nicaragua have been set. It's February the 22nd through the 28th. If you want to go, you have to say you want to go by next Wednesday. December the 1st is a deadline. It's a simple but complicated travel process. You have to, of course, allow the committee time to book the rooms and the travel arrangements and rent the bus and all the logistics there and get your passport in order if you need a passport. So if you want to go on that trip, please contact David Peterson or Brenda Melancon and let them know you're interested. Also, if you have the money but you can't physically go because of your health or a physical limitation, please think about sponsoring someone to go. We really need to inject youth into this project, and it'd be great if you could sponsor either a Rotaractor or an under 35 in our club, so consider that as well. During last week's club foundation celebration, was that a fun meeting or what? Yeah? We had a little technical problem with the video, and it was so wonderful that we wanted to go ahead and show it to you. So Miguel, if you could cue that up. Again, this gives me the opportunity to thank every one of you for not only your contributions to the community fund, but as you saw, the works as well. So we're connecting the past with the future, and it's coming together to be a beautiful, beautiful vision casting for this club for many years to come. So thank you for your support of the community fund, and we'll look forward to a big future. If you happen to not have picked up your foundation pin at the side, you can do that after the meeting as well. Now I'd like to introduce our Rotarian of the Day, DJ Morrow. DJ is a Community Relations and Development Director for the Salvation Army. After 6 years in other Rotary clubs, she joined our club in 1995. DJ has worked tirelessly, sharing her skills with the club in several committee chairmanship roles, as well as serving as Vocational Service Director and Sergeant at Arms. DJ is a Paul Harris Fellow and Club Foundation Fellow. One of my earlier introductions to DJ was during the presidential year of Bob Sade. And as a young Rotarian that was quite impressionable, it was quite an event to behold. If you want to know about that story, please go up after Rotary and ask Bob or DJ about the donuts. Please help me welcome our Rotarian of the Day, DJ Morrow.
Thank you. It is my honor and privilege to introduce my boss, Captain Ken Chapman. He is the area commander for the Salvation Army Metro Tulsa area. He is a fourth, and I'm only going to do a brief part because his bio is very long and lots of awards and cool things, and he had a great article in the paper not too long ago, but there's some things that I think are exceptional. He's a fourth-generation Salvationist, and he was born and raised in Savannah, Georgia. He taught high school band for 10 years and won lots of competition awards. He has a master's, he has a bachelor in music education, a master's of music education, and a master's in conducting. So the music thing out there is really up his alley. For 20 years, Captain Chapman was president and creative director for Creative Events International, and he was the music producer for the 1996 Atlanta Olympics and the executive producer for the Atlanta and Barcelona Paralympic ceremonies. I just think that's really cool. He produced the Easter egg roll for the Bush administration at the White House in 2006, and he was a producer for Santa's Traveling Workshop, a touring show that brought toys and hope to over 300,000 people affected by Hurricane Katrina. But in 2009, Captain Chapman and his wife, Captain Jessie Chapman, realized that God's call offered their lives what God wanted them for the Salvation Army, to become officers. And they gave up all that life and came to become officers for the Salvation Army. And the two of them, and she's back in the back somewhere, waiting. And they've been married for 23 years. The captains were in Jackson, Mississippi for 7 years, I believe it was, and were transferred to Tulsa this June. And he has hit the ground running and running hard, and we're trying hard to keep up with him. So I'm excited to hear what he's going to share with you. And he probably won't be able to get to all of it, but just hold on to your seat because a lot of good things are coming. Captain?
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be in Tulsa and have an incredible staff. When you have the level of DJ and what she does and many others like that, it makes the job a lot better. We came to Tulsa June the 20th, and my wife and I have absolutely fallen in love with Tulsa. Tulsa is an amazing, unique city. People are so friendly. There's a work ethic. You can pump gas and people will carry on a conversation with you where it came from the last appointment. You were afraid you're going to get shot. But Tulsa is an amazing, and it is probably one of the most philanthropic places I've seen ever. So I hope the Salvation Army forgets I'm here, and I'll get extra time here because there's much to do, and you're going to hear about that today as we go along. But when I first came to Tulsa, I was trying to ride around and get the lay of the land and find out my bearings and where we are. And I was riding around, and I came to this place that had a big fence around it, and I was wondering what it was, and I heard somebody chanting behind that fence. And it got my curiosity piqued, so I got out of the car, and I'm walking around the fence, and it's tall, and I'm a short guy, and I couldn't see over it, and I kept hearing behind the fence people saying, 13, 13, 13. And I realized I was standing in front of a mental hospital, and I kept hearing 13, 13. My curiosity was just piqued. So I found a little peephole in the fence, and I bent down, and I put my eye in the peephole, and somebody stuck a pencil in my eye. Then I heard 14, 14. That was my introduction to Tulsa. I want to sing a song for you. This is a Salvation Army song. You're going to love this. Here's the good old whiskey, drink it down, drink it down. Here's the good old whiskey, drink it down, drink it down. Now, y'all are probably thinking this guy has lost. He's lost it. Salvation Army, we're teetotalers. And I'm talking about drinking whiskey. Well, in 1865, in the East End of London, William Booth had a tug on his heart from the Lord. And in those days, people had to pay a pew tax to go to church. They had to dress properly or they couldn't go into church. And it was in the height of the Industrial Revolution, and all these factories were being built up, and around factories there were slums. So William Booth had a real heart for people's souls because no one was taking care of their souls. So he started preaching on the street corners. He would rent out dance halls and saloons. And outside of the Blind Beggar Pub, he started the Salvation Army on the streets of East London. So in our Salvation Army hymnal today, what do you mean hymnal? Salvation Army is a church? It used to offend me when people didn't understand we were a church. I said, what part of salvation did you not get in that title? But we are a church. We came from the Methodist Church, and we look pretty much like a Methodist church if you come to worship with us, except our brass band is our organ and accompanies us. But in our Salvation Army hymnal today, that song, the whiskey song, because the founder said, why should the devil have all the good music? So in that hymnal, it goes like this. Storm the forts of darkness, bring them down, bring them down. Storm the forts of darkness, bring them down, bring them down. Bring down the devil's kingdom, where'er he holds dominion. Storm the forts of darkness, bring them down. And that's what we try to do, basically. To bring hope to the hopeless, a voice to those who have lost their voice. So William Booth started actually the Christian mission. It started out as the Christian mission. And so he and Catherine, who was a co-founder, they had all these recruits, former drunks and prostitutes and people of the street, people that were cast aside by society. And he believed, as we believe today, get your heart right with God and put your hand out immediately in practical Christian service. As a matter of fact, we say if your uniform doesn't have the smell of the street on it, you don't deserve to wear it. And these days, if you get real close to us, you may experience that, and our uniforms are a little more ruffled and stained than they normally would be because we're working 20-hour days to take care of many people in our community. Because of your generosity, you keep our mission going. So William Booth and Catherine started this Christian mission, and it began to grow by leaps and bounds. And from its very origin, the Salvation Army was very, very strictly attuned to social justice. As a matter of fact, there were match factories in those days because they needed those matches to light those oil lamps and their candles. And there were no social laws, so children were working in the match factory, and they would get what was called phossy jaw, where the phosphorus from the matches would get inside their system, and at night their jaws would glow. And they died premature deaths because of poisoning. So the founder, William Booth, early days of the Salvation Army, decided he was going to buy that factory, and he raised enough money to do that, and he changed all of those laws, and many, many laws in England began to change, and social justice began to change because the Salvation Army stood up for people who could not stand up for themselves. And today, we continue that tradition. So we're trying to storm the forts of darkness. We're trying to go to the places where people have lost their way. What can we do? Well, there's a lot that's happened in 151 years, and I have just a few minutes to tell you about it, and I also want to tie in how Tulsa is faring. 110 years the Salvation Army has been in Tulsa. As a matter of fact, on November the 6th, we held an open-air meeting on the very site downtown that the Salvation Army opened warfare in Tulsa on November 6th, 1906. What a glorious day that was. And we were waving the flag and preaching the gospel. Now, here's the deal. We're faith-based, but we preach our message. The only reason we give out social services, the only reason we serve in disasters is because we believe that we need to preach our message of the grace and mercy of Jesus Christ. And we don't apologize for that, and we don't back down from that. However, it's very important for you to understand there's a myth in this community that I want to shatter. You do not have to be Christian to receive services from us. We preach our message because we believe that's the center of most of the problems if people don't understand that. But if you don't accept the message, we don't force you to go to a chapel. We don't force you into anything. We still love you inclusively. We still serve without any discrimination. So we want to make sure people understand where our heart is. We are there to help people who need help along the way. So in 1878, the founder was writing a report about the Salvation Army, and his son was the chief of staff. That's Bramwell Booth. He was the second general of the Salvation Army, and he was writing about, I'm a volunteer in God's army. And his son said, oh, no, I'm no volunteer. I'm a full-time soldier in God's army. So the founder struck out volunteer and put Salvation Army. And from that day, the name, the Salvation Army, has stuck. And that's who we are. So the good thing is, people don't see us a lot as a church. And I used to be worried about that, but now I think it's the greatest tool in our arsenal because we can get in places where other churches can't. We can be accepted in disaster sites and other places where other faith-based groups are not allowed to go, and we're thankful for that, and we respect that and try to do that the right way. So in Tulsa, the heart of the Salvation Army for decades has been our Boys and Girls Clubs. We have 6 Boys and Girls Clubs around the area. We touch the lives of over 18,000 children a year and families. And in those Boys and Girls Clubs, we're teaching character development. We're teaching developmental sports, music conservatories. We're helping with after school and tying up with the schools. We're about to tie up with the 21st Century Grant with the State Department of Education, where we will be tying what we do into all the schools. And in our former appointment, we saw that happen, and all the test scores begin to rise up because of the resources that were brought to the table. So you're going to see some amazing things that begin to happen in the future. We also have a Center of Hope that's down on Denver, and the Center of Hope is built for 150 beds, and we have every single night at least 325 people staying there. Our staff is overrun. The building is overrun, but we are serving people. So we think about that. We are taking 325 people off the streets every night. We have 6 levels of programs there in transitional housing, a thing called Project Launchpad, where a corporation or a Sunday school class or an individual can adopt an apartment and furnish that apartment for families who are working to try to get their lives back together. And after 18 months to 2 years, that family can move out into self-sustainability once they've reached that level, and then they take the furniture and the pots and pans and all that with them, so that barrier is broken down and they're able to start. I had a wonderful meeting yesterday with Commissioner Keith, and by the way, I think she gives visionary leadership for Tulsa County, and I think we should be very, very proud of her leadership. She called me the day of the election, and she said, well, I hope tomorrow I'll still be your commissioner. I prayed over her, and she got it, so there you go. But we have a vision to move people from the streets. Now, we call it the pathway of hope. And the Salvation Army nationally has come up with an instrument called the Human Needs Index. And we measure a family or an individual where they are, where they're suffering, what got them there, and analyze their situation. And we will assign them a hope quotient number from that Human Needs Index. So say, for instance, President John is at a 43. We will meet with you and we'll assess your situation and we'll say, okay, you're at a 43 today. In 6 months, we'd like to see you at a 62. And this is how we're going to get you there. We collaborate with other agencies. We work with government resources and we bring it together. In 18 months to 2 years, our goal is to have those families on their feet into self-sustainability. Because here's the problem. When I came to Tulsa, and Tulsa has an incredible reputation within the Salvation Army world in the Southern Territory, I realized right away that we had problems with our Center of Hope, with our shelter. Not only that it's overrun, and we have, but here's the issue, and I know this sounds bad to say this, but I have to say it. We were part of the problem. We became enablers because there's so many people that are homeless that year after year stayed in our shelter. We serve 7 meals a day there, 317,000 meals a year that we serve out of that one kitchen. And these folks were standing around outside, smoking cigarettes and talking on their cell phone, doing their deals, with absolutely no responsibility whatsoever. And here's part of the problem, too. Our government is a big part of the problem. I'm not anti-government. I'm not. But they have created so many entitlements for people who don't want to have responsibility, for people who don't want to get up and go to work like you and I do each day, and we are ready to declare war on that and to make a big dent in that on that combat field because we are not doing right as Americans. So we want to move people from entitlement to empowerment. And you do that by restoring self-dignity. You do that by taking them and making them realize everybody has to have a buy-in to their own recovery. So this pathway of hope helps to do that. So I had to institute some pretty tough measures. So we're saying now to people, if you have been here over and over and over for years and you're not doing anything to better yourself, we'll give you 15 nights cumulatively over the year of free shelter and we'll feed you. But after that, you're going to have to pay $10 a night for shelter or for food, or better yet, we'd rather you join one of our 6 levels of programs so we can give you the resources you need to get where you need to go. That's the tough way to go, folks, because the easy way is to keep handing out the food. The easy way is to keep giving the shelter and no questions asked. And if you're drunk, come on in, we'll take care of you. Those days are ending in Tulsa because we're not going to tolerate it anymore. We have to make people responsible for who they are. And it's tough love. So we're taking the tough road, and I've had some backlash on it, quite frankly. But I've been talking to a lot of new government leaders and officials who are beginning to see that. We need to clean up the streets of Tulsa by giving people the resources, but you have to do it in a loving way. Because here's the problem. There are multi-generational cycles of poverty and bad education. And all of us will say, those people need to get a job. Those people need to work. But they don't know the way out. great-grandmother lived that way. The government allowed grandmother to live that way. The government gave entitlement and resources to the mother. So now the children, that's the only life they know. So we have to take them by the hand and we have to say to them, there is another way. There is another way to go. You don't have to live like this, and we will love you into self-sustainability. Your donations, your resources, your support, that is what keeps us going. That is the thing that keeps us going. So every time you drop something in that kettle, every time you send a check, and I'm sorry, I know we send too many mailings out, I know. Direct mail is kind of a dying art, so that won't happen too many more years. But because we're going into the 21st century with some electronic things and some social media things, and even an old guy like me can understand. But your money and your resources enable us to make Tulsa a better community by making people more self-sustainable and having the dignity that they need for themselves. We have to join together to do that. We cannot continue to go down the same path of just handing it out and handing it out and handing it out. I'll give you a quick story. This is going to make you a little happy, but it's only going to make you a little mad too. I was talking to one of the clients a few months ago, 26-year-old mother who had 4 different babies by 4 different baby daddies. And let me tell you, if you have 4 children, the government gives you every entitlement known to man. The government even pay people to watch her kids during the day, and she stays at home watching the Jerry Springer show. 26-year-old capable woman not working. She's living in a HUD housing, paying $10 a month. She's getting EBT, food stamps, WIC, medical care. All of her children get dental care, free education. And I said to her, do you have your GED? Oh, no, I don't have my GED. I stopped to have my babies. I said, well, we teach a GED right down the hall. We'll teach you the GED. We'll help you get a job and help you get back into sustainability. And she said to me, Captain, I don't mean any disrespect to you, but if I did that, the most I could hope for would be a minimum wage job, and I would lose every entitlement that the government gives to me. Folks, we've dug ourselves into a hole. We have created that monster. So it is time to start breaking those cycles. It is time to create social enterprises. We talked about that yesterday with the commissioner, talking about taking old rundown warehouses and rehabbing them into social enterprises. Our founder in 1898 wrote a book called In and Out of Darkest England. That was an agrarian society then, so it was farm colonies that was teaching groups of people to go back into self-sustainability. So we want to do that here, to where we take some of these abandoned properties, turn them into commercial laundries, into food prep, and to hospitality industry. The hospitality industry and the food industry need people to bus tables and to wait on tables, to wash dishes, to prepare food, to get things done in all of the hotels. And we could take the homeless, we can take the people who are struggling, put them into those social enterprises, give them good job skills, teach them character building, teach them ethics, and move them into society where they are being paid and they are working for themselves. Tulsa is a better place with a better workforce. That's the vision for the Salvation Army in Tulsa here in the next few weeks, months, and years. And I hope you'll join me in that venture. It's the hard way. It's hard to get there. Another story was a client who was about 40-something years old. He was 18 years old. He went joyriding with some guys, and they decided to rob a gas station. And he stayed in the car, but he was part of it. So he got sent to prison for 26 years, Ricardo. And in Florida, there's no parole, so he had to spend the whole 26 years. While he was there, he got a degree. When he came out, he said, I need to get out of this environment. So he came to the Salvation Army, to our transitional housing. We noticed with Ricardo there was something really good. He had a good spirit. His heart was right. He was smart. So we kept elevating him in our programs, and we had thrift stores where we were selling computers, used computers for $25, and he would fix them, and we could sell them for $250. So Ricardo was great at enterprising. So we we got him to a point where he was ready to move on. So I went to my board chairman, and this board chairman owns the largest business texting company in the world. And I said to him, will you, on my word, will you give Ricardo a chance? Give him a job. Give him a chance to get out into the real world. Well, this board member took the challenge, brought Ricardo on. 2 years later, Ricardo became the senior vice president of app development, owns a $200,000 house, got married, and his wife opened up a tailor shop, and now he is a productive, thriving member of the community. That is the kind of transformation we need to have in this community. Changing people, bringing hope to people, lifting them up. And in Tulsa, we have the resources to do it. The largest community foundation in the country is right here. The third most powerful United Way with great leadership right here. Unbelievable foundations and leadership, and the Kaiser Foundation and George Kaiser's vision for this community. There is so much here. Great leadership coming into offices. We can do this. We can make Tulsa better. Now, most people don't want to deal with the people we deal with. They don't want it's too messy, because we're dealing on the front lines. I'm amazed every day that our folks show up for work at the Center of Hope, because it's so difficult. Some of the very people we help spit on us, and it's tough. But they come because they have a calling, because they care, just like William Booth and Catherine Booth did in their early days of the Salvation Army. I went to another home of a client, and her little girl was sitting on the couch next to me while her mother went in to make some tea. And she looked up, the little 5-year-old girl looked at me and she said, "Captain, would you like to see my doll collection?" I said, "I would love to see your doll collection." So she took me to her room. She's showing me all of her dolls. She has this beautiful Barbie and Ken doll. She has an American Girl doll she bought from our thrift store. She has a Raggedy Ann doll. These are just really nice looking dolls. And then she reached under her bed and she pulled out a box and she said, "Would you like to see my favorite doll?" I said, "I would love to see it." So she pulled it. That was the worst looking doll I've ever seen. An eye was falling out. The hair was scraggly. The arm was missing. It was dirty and stained. And I said, "If this is your favorite, with all of these beautiful dolls you have here, why is this your favorite doll?" And she said something that changed my heart. I hope I can say it without choking up. She said, "Captain, if I don't love this doll, nobody will." What a lesson that was for this old guy here. A guy who's dedicated his life to the Salvation Army. She changed me even more, because that is how I need to live my life. That is how we need to live our lives, for others. Loving others that other people don't want to love. Taking the discarded people and the people that are just difficult to love, and finding a way to love them back into dignity. That's what we need to be about. Not just the Salvation Army. We all need to live that way. It has to be about others. In 1910, the founder died in 1912. And in the Salvation Army, you don't die. You're promoted to glory. And he was promoted to glory in 1912. But in 1910, he wanted to send a message to all of his officers around the world. We're in 128 countries today. But in those days, we were probably around 65 or 70. And those days, remember, there were no fax machines, there were no cell phones and computers and email. So how was he able to send the message? Only by telegraph, and it cost by the letter. So he didn't have a lot of money, but he wanted to encourage his officers on the field. So he sent one word, others. Others. So today, I want to challenge each one of you in this holiday season as we enter into, we sit around our tables tomorrow with our families, and we have a nice festively decorated house, a beautifully laid out table. The fellowship and the love and camaraderie of our friends and family around us. Would you take a moment to remember others? Would you take a moment to remember those who don't have those opportunities? You do that every time you drop into a kettle. You do that every time you send a check to us. You do that every time you donate things to us, and we're grateful for that. But tomorrow, be thankful not only for what you have, but thankful for the fact that we live in a country where there are resources to be able to help those who cannot help themselves. So think of others. Think of others. I want to bring to your attention a couple of things. We have these on the table, the counter kettles. Those will be all over town. And we have a new thing called our giving jar. And DJ is holding it up now. We're coming into the 21st century. People, I know how y'all are. I've rung bells all my life. And y'all will walk by and y'all won't have any eye contact. You look down at the ground. You bump into the wall because you just feel guilty. I'm the same way. I walk out of Walmart and some little softball team is selling. If I don't have any cash, I feel so bad. So I get that. But aside from our kettles this year, we're going to have 50 of these giving jars around town. And this is run off of cellular technology, okay? And cellular technology, so you dip your card in, it'll be preset, and out there in the lobby we have 5 different settings, $1, $5, $25, $50, $100. You dip your credit card or your debit card in, pull it out, and walk away. Now, it goes up in the heavenly clouds somewhere. We don't save the information, so we promise we're not putting you on a mailing list. You won't get anything else from us. And you can go to dipjar. Well, they're really called dip jars, but I found out in Oklahoma dip jars have a whole different connotation. So we're going to politely call them giving jars. But you can go to dipjar.com and put your information in and get what you need there. So your receipt and all of that. I'm going to tell you a quick story, then I'll close with a quote from our founder. Major Danny Delaney was my mentor. Everywhere Major Danny Delaney went in the Salvation Army, he was a consummate Salvation Army officer. Everything thrived wherever he went. His first appointment out of the training seminary was Okmulgee, Oklahoma, which is part of my area command. That's how God has a great sense of humor. And he told me this story when he was a young lieutenant just out of the training seminary, appointed to Okmulgee. It's Christmas Eve. And he's ringing the bell. And in those days, the Angel Tree, which was founded actually in 1975, before those days, they had station wagons. Anybody remember station wagons? And we would give a basket of food and fruit and a doll for a girl and a truck for a boy. And the Corps officer's wife would be out delivering that on Christmas Eve to the needy. And so the lieutenant was there ringing the bell at the department store. Ringing the bell, trying to get that last nickel in the kettle. He rang the bell, and the department store is closing, so the manager comes out and says, "Lieutenant, we're closing. Can I give you a ride to the Salvation Army Hall?" And he's ringing the bell, saying, "No, thank you, my wife, she's a-coming." He keeps ringing the bell. It starts to get dark. The police ride by. "Lieutenant, it's Christmas Eve. Come on, nobody's out here." He's trying to get every penny he can in that kettle. "Can we give you a ride to the Salvation Army Hall?" He's ringing the bell. "No, thank you, my wife, she's a-coming." Then it starts to snow, and the taxi driver drives by. "Lieutenant, come on, man, let me take you home. This is just too much." He said, "No, thank you, my wife, she's a-coming." So finally his wife came, and he took the tripod and the kettle and the bell, and he went to put it in the back of the station wagon, and he noticed there was a basket of food left and a few miscellaneous toys left from the distribution. And he said, "There was a family that came to the Salvation Army last week. I think I know where they live. Let's go over there and see if we can help them." Christmas Eve night, and they drove to the other side of town. They went over the railroad tracks. They came up to this rickety, shotgun-looking house, walked up the rickety steps, knocked on the door, and when the door was open, they could see there was no evidence of Christmas in the house at all. No presents, no tree. And he looked down, and there's a 5-year-old girl that had a torn dress, and she was barefoot, and she looked up at him and said, "I was a-thinking you was a-coming." And he said at that moment, the Lord touched his heart. If I had not shown up that night, what would that family have done for Christmas? If I had not thought about others that night, what difference did it make in the life of that family? What hope did it bring to them? That's why we're willing to work 18 and 20-hour days. That's why we're able to do what we do, because we need to take the light to a dark world. And I'll close with this. This is a quote that our founder, this is his last sermon, and the last quote he made right before he was promoted to glory. And this sums it up for all of us. While women weep as they do now, I'll fight. While little children go hungry as they do now, I'll fight. While men go to prison in and out as they do now, I'll fight. While there's a drunkard left, while there's a poor girl lost upon the streets, while there remains one dark soul without the light of God, I'll fight. I'll fight to the very end. God bless you. Fight to the very end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ken. I have a good friend, Mike Borden, that you know. I think he'd been in town about 2 days, and he gave me a call, and he said, you need to get Ken in your club and have him be a speaker. And I appreciate you coming, and a good message and something we need to chew on about enablement. Most of us have that in our own families, and it's tough love is tough. So I wish you Godspeed on that journey, because I know it's a difficult one, and you will be opposed. So let's hope that we can do that with a tender heart and the nurturing that it takes to do that correctly. And actually, the goal is to transform lives, but in the short term, it's going to be difficult. So we wish you well on that journey. We have a couple of books today. For our Adopt a School, Celia Clinton, Captain Ken has already inscribed them. Lend a Helping Hand is one that was provided by the club, and our speaker brought his own speaker gift. And he gave it to us, and it's the littlest Christmas kettle. So we're going to present these two books to our Adopt a School, Celia Clinton, and we thank you very much for that. Also, let's recognize our individuals that helped put this meeting on today. Their names and what they did for us today are on the screen. Let's give them a hand. We have announcements today. We'll start with Marty Alexander. She's going to run to the mic. She's going to tell us about a travel opportunity.
Philly day, Philly day, Philly day. I swear, John, everyone in this room should join us to go to Atlanta. Don't you think? Can anyone else talk Atlantis? Do you all remember when President John came back from Seoul and how excited and how charged he was? And when Jeff came back from Sao Paulo and how excited and how charged he was, and when past President Rhonda came back from Sydney and how excited and how charged she was, well, you too can be excited and charged, and maybe if you have any political persuasion or interest in Rotary politics, maybe this is your chance to see what it's all about at the top. Anyway, we've got a great group of Rotarians going, so we do have a deadline. Please be sure and let me know if you're interested by the end of the month. That's next week. So thank you. I have some flyers. You can meet me outside. And we are going to Charleston after Atlanta for a little bit of fun and frivolity. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. There's already a good group of people going, so it's going to be very much a flavor of the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Now let's hear from Michelle Place.
Thank you, Captain Ken. Well, I believe the only thing I need to say about bell ringers is that I have 36 open slots out there. Sign up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've only got a few days left, one Wednesday meeting left to fill those, or two, actually.
Yeah, but they go ahead and sign up now.
I understand, but I was going to say drag your friends and your neighbors and let's get them filled up. It's a unique opportunity for our club, and we look forward to ringing the bell with those. And I can really relate to what you said about people looking down. But what really kills me is when they walk out and they say, yeah, you already gave. You know, like they're guilty, they're not giving again. So there is a heart for the Salvation Army, and that work is very much appreciated. Phil Armstrong, I don't see him today. He has an announcement on Diversity Inclusion Committee, co-sponsoring the December 1st forum with the Tulsa Historical Society. So we are very much a part of that. So get with Phil, get some more information, and attend that if you can. Now for Charles on a quick announcement.
Annual Shop with the Cop coming up, and this year, I did a little bit of insight on this, and it was really quite moving. We do it every year, first Saturday, December 3rd. It's from 8:30 to 11:30. It goes by really quick. It's an easy thing to be a part of. And I'm looking for positive volunteers. The reason being is one of the stories that came out this week, we're going to have there's a number of them, but there's one 5-year-old boy who's going to be there. His mother passed away in the springtime, congestive heart failure. So he and his siblings moved to aunt and uncle's house. The uncle's gunned down in July in the apartment. He's going to be there. Volunteer. If you're on the fence, we'll get you out in time for the OU-OSU game, but volunteer. Helps you. Thanks.
Thank you very much. It's always a great event. It's always a great way to be a part of a kid's life changing, but given what's going on with the police officers, they need a program like this even more than normal. So please volunteer for that program. I guarantee it'll be worthwhile. Barney.
Today's pot is 1627. Captain Ken, that was an excellent message, but I have to admit you had most of this group and myself with you with the whiskey song at that point, so you had me there. All right, you pulled the winner. Here's our winner.
So what we do is we draw a ticket that allows you to draw a card.
They've got it.
And this is for our Rotary Foundation.
Okay. All right, last week's people, sorry, it's this week's ticket. Or this, it's a ticket that was sold today. 172-1654.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
We have...
All right. Yes.
All right, Bob, best of luck.
The fix is in, yeah. Let me just say, 26 years ago tomorrow, I married his daughter, so...
Now, Bob, since that's your son-in-law, you should ask to look for the Joker. Ah.
Yeah, yes. Dale, Dale saw it, and he saw me shuffle. Thank you.
Thank you very much. These funds, of course, that we raise through this fun little thing is to support our Global Rotary Foundation. As you know, past President Bob McKenzie is very involved in the efforts to eradicate polio. He's missed the last couple of meetings because he's been in Tucson with the Ride to End Polio with the El Tour de Tucson. He's raising awareness through his cycling to end polio. He says he's going to do it until he can't ride anymore. So if you're thinking about making an end-of-the-year gift to the Rotary Foundation, please consider Polio Plus and supporting Bob's efforts to end polio through the rides that he does, RAM coming up as well. Our upcoming programs again, November 30th, the Energy Summit, December 7th, Lisa Bain, December 14th, G.T. Bynum. Now earlier you might have thought I was being a little ornery about Catherine, but I really do appreciate those that aren't here that are with their families. We are a family, so all of us that are here, I know we're going to connect with our families later. But for me, this is an extension of family, so I really appreciate everybody being here. I wouldn't miss being here to see all of you before you go off. But all of those that aren't with us today, they are also heading to their families. So let's remember this season, this is all about relationships. And some of us, to be honest, when we get our family together, it's not always a joyful time because of the variety of family that we do have. But I would ask you to set that aside this year and embrace those that are tough to love. And look at that son-in-law or whatever it might be that appears to be a little unlovable, and really shower them with that love. Because as you'll see, even in your own family, and as we'll see in the society, when you love them, everybody else loves each other that much deeper. Thank you very much, and we are adjourned.